I think Jake Paul is crazy enough to fight Anthony Joshua because the money would be absolutely obscene. It's a catastrophic mismatch that people would tune in to watch because it would lead to the end of Jake Paul.
Like this, by the way, but I don't like it. No, I don't like it either. But the way that Joshua see it is as a money grab. He'll see it as an easy money grab, but at this stage of his career, is it a fight he should be taking? Nah.
Guy who finally put an end to this Jake Paul thing, right? If he goes out there and puts Jake Paul in the dirt, he's going to be heralded. He's going to be a hero.
Eddie Hearn recently weighed in on Jake Paul's decision to pursue a fight with Anthony Joshua, and his reaction was anything but positive. The Matchroom promoter cautioned that Paul is making the biggest mistake of his career by even considering stepping into the ring with the former unified heavyweight champion. Hearn emphasized this isn't just another payday or Netflix-driven spectacle. It's a potentially career-ending move. He warned that Joshua's elite power, experience, and overwhelming physicality would leave Paul brutally outmatched. According to Hearn, this matchup goes far beyond entertainment and enters a dangerous territory where Jake Paul's safety and future in boxing are at serious risk.
Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua 50-50 fight, what do you make of that?
Yeah, I just said in another interview, great if it is. I mean, if it is, then you've got no problem seeing it. But when AJ, I mean, decapitate's a strong word, but you know, when he renders Jake Paul unconscious like he did to Francis Ngannou, don't then say, oh, well, it was Jake Paul. Do you know what I mean? I mean, when AJ beat Francis Ngannou, Ngannou just had a fight that could have gone either way with Tyson Fury. Then AJ poleaxed him and everyone just said he's just an MMA fighter. Do you know what I mean? Jake Paul's not Francis Ngannou. But, as I said before, if you want to see Jake Paul exit the boxing world...
Reports suggest Jake Paul is now in the final stages of negotiating a heavyweight showdown with Anthony Joshua, potentially taking place next month in Miami and streamed globally on Netflix. This would represent a massive leap for Paul, who has built his boxing career against limited or unconventional opposition. In contrast, Joshua is a former two-time unified heavyweight champion who last competed in September 2024, making the matchup one of the most unexpected developments in boxing this year. Eddie Hearn confirmed that Matchroom has indeed been exploring the possibility. While the fight was originally viewed as something that could happen later in the future, the cancellation of Jake Paul versus Gervonta Tank Davis may accelerate the timeline, pushing the Joshua bout forward sooner than planned. Hearn made it clear, however, that talks remain preliminary and no official deal has been finalized. He noted that Joshua's long-term goals still revolve around regaining the World Heavyweight Championship or securing a major clash with Tyson Fury. Although a bout with Jake Paul is now on the table and could materialize due to Paul's schedule opening up, Hearn stressed it is not Team Joshua's main priority. Their focus remains firmly on rebuilding Joshua's path back to world title contention, rather than simply participating in a high-profile entertainment spectacle.
Conversations with myself and Nikisa, I think Jake and AJ have spoke as well. You know, from our point of view, if we're going to have a run-out fight, why not run out against Jake Paul? You know, for a lot of money. So there's ongoing conversations there. I can't tell you it's close. I can't tell you we've seen a contract. But if he genuinely wants to fight Anthony Joshua, I don't see why we wouldn't have a chance to do that fight. But you know, our focus is on really a charge for the World Heavyweight Championship and a charge at Tyson Fury. We can't control that either. So, like I said, that's why I said to you, absolutely.
Hearn has further expressed his concerns about a potential clash between Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua, warning that this matchup goes far beyond simple entertainment. He believes the fight is dangerously mismatched, citing the enormous differences in size, power, and elite-level experience between the two. According to Hearn, the risks aren't hypothetical, they're serious and immediate. He cautioned that stepping in with Joshua could severely damage Paul's career, if not end it outright. Hearn emphasized that the threat to Paul's health and long-term standing in the sport is so significant that any decision to make the fight must be weighed carefully, no matter its commercial appeal.
Yeah, just quickly, I watched Jake Paul the weekend. I feel a bit dirty saying that because I'm not a fan of his, but he did say after the fight that he's sort of having DMs or he's dropping text messages to AJ. They're having a chat about a potential fight. What's your view on that, Eddie?
Well, look, he's calling out Gervonta Davis, who is a 135-pound lightweight, and he's calling out Anthony Joshua, that's a heavyweight monster. I think Jake Paul is crazy enough to fight Anthony Joshua because the money would be absolutely obscene. It's a catastrophic mismatch that people would tune in to watch because it would lead to the end of Jake Paul. Hopefully not literally, but it's that dangerous that, you know, it's a fight that I don't think should really happen, if I'm honest. I would say about Jake Paul, and I've said this in a couple of interviews today, I do think you start after giving him a margin of respect. You know, I think this guy is going through the motions, he's putting the hard spars in. He just went 10 rounds with, yes, a washed up fighter, but a former world champion that did train for that fight. But they're very clever in terms of the opponents they pick. They're not going to gamble unless the money's out of control. And it wouldn't surprise me if Jake Paul wanted to move forward with an Anthony Joshua fight. Honestly, AJ's coming tonight. He's not exactly looking at Jake Paul going, oh, that's my dream opponent. No. Would he go in there and give him a hiding for, you know, a massive chunk of money? Probably. I'd be saying, yeah.
Mike Coppinger of The Ring recently raised serious concerns about the potential Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua matchup, suggesting Paul is pursuing the fight more for the massive payday than for competitive legitimacy. According to Coppinger, negotiations are well advanced but remain complicated by key broadcast and sanctioning hurdles. He highlighted that Joshua is an enormous jump in size, power, and experience for Paul, creating a matchup that many view as dangerously one-sided. Coppinger emphasized that while the commercial appeal could push the fight forward, the risks to Paul's boxing credibility, and more importantly, his personal safety, are substantial. At this stage, it is still unclear whether the fight would be sanctioned as a professional bout or treated as an exhibition. No official regulatory details have been released, leaving open questions about the rules, how the contest would be recorded, and what governing body would oversee it.
A breaking story on Ring Magazine. Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul are finalising a deal for a heavyweight fight on Netflix in December in Miami. Sources tell the Ring Magazine's Mike Coppinger. What do you make of that? Well, Anthony Joshua was talking about wanting warm-up fights before going into bigger fights, but look, it's prize fighting at the end of the day. The way that Joshua will see it and Matchroom and all the team, the fans won't like this, by the way. But I don't like it. No, I don't like it either. But the way that Joshua will see it is as a money grab. He'll see it as an easy money grab. But at this stage of his career, is it a fight he should be taking? Nah, definitely not. Yeah, but it shouldn't be licensed because it's a really dangerous fight. Do we know if it's an exhibition or a real fight? We don't know yet, but I don't think they should be allowing Anthony Joshua in a ring with Jake Paul. It's dangerous for him. It can't be a real fight, because if it's a real fight, Anthony Joshua would take Jake Paul's head clean off. So it can't be a real fight. That's what I'm worried about. Yeah, I don't want to see a man decapitated in Miami in a ring in December. Listen, and that's what will happen. So.
However, many experienced boxing figures have strongly rejected the idea. Veteran heavyweight Derek Chisora blasted the possibility of Jake Paul earning a WBC ranking, calling it outright disrespectful to the sport.
BC have said they're going to give a cruiserweight ranking to the winner of this fight. Do you think they deserve one?
No, I don't think so. I don't know why. It's hard enough for real athletes, for real boxers, to get those rankings, and then suddenly this Solomon Sousa decides to give double ranking because he's getting some greens in his, in his back pocket. No,
Boxing legend Roy Jones Jr. offered a surprising perspective on the potential matchup. While he admitted the fight could happen if Anthony Joshua truly wanted it, he stressed it must make sense for Joshua both competitively and financially. Praising Joshua as a legitimate former world champion, Jones didn't mince words, saying, "Did you see what Anthony Joshua did to Francis Ngannou? The same thing would happen to Jake Paul. If you think someone who isn't a full-time boxer can beat Anthony Joshua, you're crazy."
I want to change subjects just a little bit here, and Anthony Joshua, there's rumours circulating he could be fighting Jake Paul next. One, do you think it's good for boxing, and two, do you think the fight will happen?
I think it's great for boxing. I think the fight will happen. AJ is one of those against these guys that come in to these boxing careers late. So why not? He's the perfect guy to take him out too. He took Ngannou out. Why would he not take Jake Paul out? And for him, he probably make more money fighting Jake Paul than will fighting anybody else that he can fight right now. So why would he not do it? I mean, not that he needs the money right now anyway, but he's going to do something if he want to get a good win to put him back on the scene. That's a perfect win. He get a lot of money doing it.
Will Jake Paul become a world champion?
No.
Why?
I think if they make him fight tough opponents, guys with experience,
those guys will be. Now, if you catch somebody like myself at the end of their career, or somebody like Tyson, we caught at the end of their career, the chances are much higher. Because now it becomes more of a 50-50. You got a guy who's better than him with the age factor. You understand me? And that's the only way to balance it for him to make it a 50-50 fight. Somebody who's on his level at the same age, those guys have too much experience. You understand me? So he's not going to beat those guys. But you find a guy who is past his prime, who has the mentality further than his, but past his prime, it kind of evens the stakes.
Leon Edwards has shared his thoughts on the potential Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua matchup, making it clear he strongly favors Joshua. Speaking to MMA Fighting, Edwards said the fight would be overwhelmingly in Joshua's favor, noting that Paul would be taking a massive leap in competition. Although the bout is still speculative and far from confirmed, Edwards' comments echo the widely held belief that the matchup is a major mismatch given the vast differences in experience, skill, and stature within the boxing world.
You've seen this fight's in the works, Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul. As a Brit, how do you evaluate
Just in that, someone just told me about that. That's mad. Fair play to Jake Paul, first of all, for taking it. But if AJ doesn't knock him out in like 1-2 rounds, then I feel like the fight is mostly fixed or something, because I'm going to Anthony Joshua, obviously, for the KO. So yeah, when is it, you know?
It's going to be next month they're working towards.
Oh yeah, sick. Yeah, I'm going AJ for the win.
Stephen A. Smith has long criticized Jake Paul's choice of opponents, often arguing that Paul targets non-boxers or fighters past their prime. Paul pushed back on this narrative, claiming he tried to fight Tommy Fury but that Fury backed out. The exchange highlights a key point in Paul's boxing progression. While Paul has beaten former MMA champions and veteran fighters, he has yet to consistently overcome active, rising boxing prospects. His February 2023 defeat to Tommy Fury remains one of the few times he faced a young, fully active boxer, and it exposed the gap between Paul and true prime-level competition.
Beating up on dudes who don't box. They're not boxers.
I was on Disney Channel while these guys were winning UFC championships.
Okay.
You know, I was playing with Mickey Mouse while these guys were throwing arm bars and winning UFC championships. Everyone's, analyzing my career, critiquing it, paying attention to it from day one, but you can't tell me who was Mike Tyson's first fight. You can't tell me who Muhammad Ali, who was his fourth fight. No one knows, but everyone's seen all of my fights. I tried to fight Tommy Fury. Yeah, I tried to fight Tommy Fury, and he backed out due to rib injury. Undefeated, young prospect. He comes from the Fury family. His brother's a heavyweight champion of the world.
Stephen A. Smith has openly criticized Jake Paul for choosing to fight boxing legend Mike Tyson. Smith argues that if Paul is truly serious about the sport, he should face opponents closer to his own age and skill level, not seasoned veterans like Anthony Joshua, who hold far more experience. Smith's point is clear. For Paul to earn real legitimacy in boxing, he must test himself against active fighters with comparable ability, rather than relying on marquee names from older generations.
This particular moment in time. Now, I'll give Jake Paul credit for this. At least he's in the ring with a boxer. But 57 years old is 57 years old. And 57 years old and formally walking into a UFC fight as an audience member, as a patron with a cane. It's hard to believe a year later that you're going to be in any condition to really fight. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't know. And if you're Jake Paul, here's what I want to say to you. It's Mike Tyson, that's fine. It's a money fight, I get you. You want to make money. But at some point in time, if you keep telling us that you're taking boxing seriously and you want to be recognized as a big-time boxer/fighter, you're going to have to fight somebody closer to your age, who is a contender at the very least in the sport and who lives with it every single day. Could you please get in the ring with somebody? Pretty please with sugar on top. I'm interested.
But what do you think about the fight, Jake Paul?
I hate it, and Jake Paul's starting to piss me off. Mike Tyson is 57 years old, man. Jake Paul been training with professional boxing trainers for years. He takes the sport very seriously.
So let me ask you, that's the question I have, because great kid, great businessman, by the way, amazing, and I know how he does all this
the character, the persona. We keep saying that he doesn't want to be a boxer. He's not a boxer, but then
Jake Paul is a boxer.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my point.
Exactly. He's a boxer.
He can fight. He can fight. I respect it. So go in there against fighters. You should be climbing the ladder towards those other fighters and taking the sport seriously to the point where you're fighting actual boxers. Now he decides to fight a fighter, a real fighter, which is Tyson. But Tyson is 30 years older. Stop this nonsense going against dudes that either ain't boxing or is 25 years removed.
On the other hand, Tyson Fury has boldly backed Jake Paul's chances, even claiming he'd bet £1 million on Paul scoring a knockout against Anthony Joshua. Speaking to Ring Magazine before the Usyk-Du Bois rematch at Wembley Stadium, Fury insisted he genuinely believes Paul could stop AJ in a potential heavyweight showdown. He pointed to Paul's increasingly muscular, heavyweight-ready physique and praised his willingness to take risks across weight classes. According to Fury, Paul's fearlessness and physical development make the upset possible, and he's confident enough to stake £1 million on it.
Talk about possibly Joshua using Jake Paul as a tune-up to fight you. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know about tune-up. I think Jake Paul knocks him out.
Seriously?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why so? What impresses you about Jake Paul?
I just think Jake Paul will knock AJ out. I think AJ's a spent force, and I think Jake Paul's on the rise. And I like his new heavyweight look. Bit chubby, bit bulky. Getting there. You want to protect it. And he just done a great job over the aging Chavez Jr., who was a middleweight, but still. Sure. Yeah. I like how Jake Paul calls out the full spectrum from featherweight to heavyweight. Do you know what I mean? Who did he call out? Tank Williams and Joshua. That's just crazy. That's what he called Richter scale.
While many critics warn that a potential Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua fight could jeopardize Joshua's legacy, others highlight Paul's knack for creating high-profile, attention-grabbing spectacles. His bouts regularly draw massive audiences and extensive media coverage, attracting fans who might not typically follow boxing. Skeptics focus on the mismatch and the possible reputational risk for a former world champion like Joshua. However, supporters point to the commercial benefits, emphasizing Paul's talent for generating hype and mainstream interest, which could boost overall visibility and engagement for the sport of boxing.
You know, think whatever you want of Jake Paul, but I have to respect what he's trying to do here, and I respect the spectacle that this could potentially be and what an attraction it could possibly be on the combined global stardom of Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua. I'm very interested in it, and I think a lot of people will be tuning in to see him get his clock cleaned.
All right, I have found playable odds.
Okay.
I think that's. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go, Pizza.
Oh, sorry. I think I'm with Rick in terms of how I see this fight going. I think it's not a contest at all, but that's where the jeopardy exists if this was to happen for Anthony Joshua. If you go into this fight and he can somehow go late into this fight with you even, I think that's where you get into the territory of tarnishing legacies like Gareth A. Davies said. And as Gareth said as well, if this fight's made, are you honestly not expecting to see that headline on TalkSport immediately? Like, that is straight away where they're going to go with this. But again, it's going to stir the pot. It's going to have everyone talking about it. It's the type of thing that everyone will have an opinion on. And that's, again, what we've seen with all Jake Paul's fights. Like, people can say, oh, I don't care about this. He has everyone talking. And the Tyson fight proved he can get eyeballs. I think this will work in the same way, but I do believe that the jeopardy exists for Anthony Joshua by not performing the way he did against Francis Ngannou.
Jake Paul is confident that a fight with Anthony Joshua could reinvigorate boxing, believing the matchup would bring fresh energy, attract new fans, and generate massive global attention. He portrays himself as a breath of fresh air for the sport, arguing that his mainstream appeal can engage younger audiences who might not usually follow traditional boxing. Paul stresses that the sport needs revitalization, and he sees his presence as a way to bridge the gap between mainstream entertainment and boxing's traditional fan base. However, opinions in the boxing community are divided, with many critics labeling Paul's ambition to face a seasoned heavyweight like Joshua as unrealistic and overly ambitious.
My thoughts about delusion, which again, I think is more about what Jake said about Anthony Joshua and what he'll do to him. That was the more delusional aspect of this. Amanda Serrano said, at Jake Paul is the truth. Funny, they say he's a fraud for wanting easy fights, then he asked for the toughest fights ever, and they say he's nuts. Listen, he was scheduled to fight Canelo Gervonta, And now he's calling out Joshua. Come on, who else is doing this? Oh crap, on second thought, he is out of his freaking mind, you're right. That was more of just Amanda backing her guy, you know what I'm saying? The co-founder of MVP and someone that she really respects. And Jake, but in the middle there, I don't know if she would know or, you know, whatever, but she essentially says that Jake was scheduled to fight Gervonta Davis, and she's not the only one saying that. Dan Roth.
Is Jake Paul taking on more than he can handle with Anthony Joshua? Or could this be the high-profile fight boxing truly needs? Share your thoughts below.